Today we are here to discuss, to learn about Dropbox and how it's freeing us from flash drives, among other things. Dropbox is it's a tool that I believe is really, it's an essential tool. When I take a step back and I look at all the different tools that I use for teaching, there's some tools that I consider essential for fostering active learning and different types of, the way, tools that are really transforming the way that I teach and transforming the pedagogy inside my classes. But there's also tools that I think are really essential in keeping me efficient and keeping me organized. And those tools are just as essential for us as 21st century educators. And Dropbox is one of those. And so that's why I've chosen to showcase it in a webinar with Learn with Michelle. Even though it doesn't really tie in, well, it could tie in with pedagogy. You never know. I mean, that's what's so great about technology. You can come up with some real creative use for it. But I really think about it as one of these tools that makes me more efficient as an educator. And so we're going to take a look at what I mean by that and how I frame it in that way. And then what I want you to do is kind of think about how you can use it on your own. And if you come up with any ideas or any reflections as we kind of go through this, then please let me know. Please let all of us know and share that in the chat box. What I'm also going to do for you after I go through a few slides and touch on some main points about what Dropbox is I'm going to do a demo for you, and I'm going to actually show you how to upload a file to Dropbox, but I'm also going to actually do a demo of the iPad app. And so it'll give you a real vibrant and dynamic view of two different versions of Dropbox, which I think is really important because sometimes it can be a little bit confusing if you haven't actually seen Dropbox in action. I think that's the most important part to understand how the workflow operates. So that's my hope for you today is if you're new to Dropbox to have that demystified and feel very comfortable with that whole process, okay? So I don't know about you, but this used to be my life not that long ago. I had a cluster of flash drives, and I never knew what files were on which flash drive. And I can remember when I started teaching online, I was like most college professors, I was teaching online, but I was also teaching in the classroom, right? And so when you're teaching online, you've got files online, you've got files that you need for the classroom, because when I was teaching in the classroom, I didn't always have the luxury of connecting my laptop into my classrooms. Not all my classrooms had laptop connections. Some of them did, some of them didn't. Sometimes I had to travel too far across campus, so I didn't have time to plug in a laptop. I never knew what my setup was going to be when I was teaching a full load of classes, and so I had to have flash drives so I could access files. It became incredibly complex to teach this way. And so Dropbox, if I was still in that environment today, and I know that there are many professors who still are, Dropbox is a solution that streamlines all of your access to your files because all you need to think about is what do I need access to? You put it in your Dropbox, and those files become accessible to you from any computer that has an internet connection. Okay, so keep that in mind as we move forward. And you can put this vision of all these flash drives away. I mean, I can remember days when I walk, I get back to my office and I think, oh, I lost my flash drive. And that was like the most horrifying thing in the world. So, I like this idea of empowering people, get over, free yourselves from the flash drives. The other thing is today we live in what we're referring to now as this multi-screen environment, which is great, right? Now that we have all these devices, we can access, we have access to content, to information from anywhere at any time. That's fabulous, right? We have this endless flow of access to our classes from anywhere at any time. The downside of that is, I don't know about you, but I find myself, responding to student inquiries from my phone, from my laptop, from my tablet. I have an iPad. For those of us who have tablets, we have different types of tablets. But all those multiple different, those different devices don't all have the same files on them, right? And so that creates problems because when I'm replying to emails, I oftentimes need access to information that's stored on particular documents. And so I find myself replying to those emails saying, oh, okay, well, let me get back to you later. I don't have that on this. I'm not on my laptop, or something to that effect. Or maybe I need to forward something to someone and I don't have it on my device. So that's another problem that I find myself dealing with in this multiple device or this multi-screen environment that I'm now living in. And that's another problem that Dropbox will help us solve moving forward. And that's something that I get very excited about. So what is Dropbox exactly? Well, it's an application that you do have to download. It's considered cloud storage, and it provides you with, once you set up your Dropbox account, and it provides you with 2 gigabytes of free storage, which is quite a bit of free storage, plenty. And it allows you to access files from any device, and you can share any file that you've uploaded to Dropbox with a simple link. So that's something else that's quite fabulous, and we'll talk a little bit about why that's so fabulous. And another thing that you can do is that you can share folders in your Dropbox with groups of users that you designate. So, for example, if there's 5 people that you want to have access to a folder that has 10 documents in it, you can set up that document and share that, or set up that folder and share that one folder with those 5 people. And so I'm going to show you a little bit about how that works as well. Okay? So the way I frame this is, in my head, there's, if we use Dropbox efficiently, there's 4 phrases that you're never going to have to say again. You're never going to have to say, where's that file? Because no matter what device you're on, you're always going to know where that file is. You're never going to be wondering, or where did I put that file? Is it on this? Is it on my desktop? Is it on my laptop? As I'm shifting between computers, and I do that now. Actually, I have 2 laptops, so sometimes I forget, where I have my files, and is it on my family computer? Is it on this computer? And that sort of thing. That's going to become less and less of a problem. And the other thing that you're not going to have to say is, sorry, I'll get back to you when I'm on my laptop, right? Because you're not going to have to worry about shifting between devices to have access to files, because your files will all be synced to your Dropbox account as you begin to work more effectively with this workflow. And this is how that works. When you create a Dropbox account, basically, it gets set up for you on the web or in the cloud. And at that point, you start uploading documents. And when you're doing that, what you're doing is you're really just creating a hierarchy of files. So you can upload files, you can create folders just like you would naturally on your own hard drive on your computer. So when you look at this graphic, that's going to look just, very similar to the type of hierarchy that you would see on your computer, right? And then after that, and I did want to point out that every time a new user creates an account on Dropbox, it actually comes with a fabulous Getting Started PDF, which is really, it's just built right in. So it's right there, and you can access it, and it helps you get started. And then what you want to do is install Dropbox on your devices. And as you can see, it comes in a variety of, it's supported on a variety of devices, both on the desktop/laptop side and the mobile side. So once you've done that, it syncs all of that content to all of those devices. And so as you can see from the screenshots, the hierarchy is repeated no matter what device you log into. Okay? You're also never going to have to say sorry about the size of that email attachment again, because with Dropbox what happens is every single file that you upload you can actually share with a link. And it's really simple to do that. All you have to do is right-click if you're on the desktop or the web version, and you'll have an option to actually share the Dropbox link. And if you're on the mobile, there are actually some other options. You can email it, you can copy the link to your clipboard, or you can send it as a text message, and then there's some other social options as well if you're interested in using those. And then if you've ever had the experience of working with a group, collaborating with a group, and you send out a document and you say, okay, everyone, make your edits to this document, and then you're left in the end with maybe 6 people who have edited the same document, and then you have to merge all these edits together, that can be a little bit maddening. So that's one of the ways that you could use the shared folder. That's one of the ways that you could use the shared folder on Dropbox. You could create a folder and add files to it and then share it with a group. And it's not like a collaborative document like a Google Doc. That's one thing I want to clarify. But what you could do is actually set up, like a timeline for people to go in and edit the documents. Because what happens with the shared folder, it's actually pretty cool. When you share a folder, so let's say, so for example, Heidi and Sarah, who are on the call right now, let's say I set up a folder in Dropbox, and I share that folder with Heidi and Sarah, and then they get an email and it says, Michelle has shared a folder with you in Dropbox, and they accept that. Now, they're going to have Dropbox accounts. They're going to log in, they're going to accept the share, and then once they do that, once they go to the Dropbox folder, it's going to be in there. They're going to see the folder in there. They're going to have full access to it. So they can download the files, they can edit them, they can save them back to the folder. So you can also think about it as a way as kind of like setting up like a mini website for a group. Like if you have a team that needs access to files, that's another way to do that as well. So lots of different ways to actually use the shared folder, I think. And this is just a screenshot of what it looks like when you go to set up a shared folder. No, actually, I have a really good question here. It says, is there any way to stop shared folders counting against each person's account? That's a great question. There is no way to stop that. So what you're referring to there is when you share a folder with another person, I believe what you're referring to is that the content, so say for example, the folder has 400 megabytes in it, say it's a really big folder, that's going to count against the 2 gigabytes in your account. So you're absolutely right, because that actually counts against your storage in your account, yeah. But if you don't want it shared with you again, you can just ask the owner of that account to unshare it with you, and then it doesn't count within yours anymore. But you're right, once it's shared with you, it does count against your storage. So I'm really glad that you asked that question, yeah. But it's easy to unshare it with you when you don't need access to it anymore. Okay, so let's go out and do a demo. Great. Okay, and now can you let me know if you see an iPad screen? And we'll be good to go. Great. Hey, look at that. I love when things work. So let me tell you what I'm doing right here now. I have my whole screen shared, so you're going to see my laptop screen, and then I'm also using a really cool app called Reflector that allows for me to actually share the iPad that I have in my hand. Okay? So we're getting a little fancy here. And what you can see on my iPad is the Dropbox app. So I'm going to click once on the app and open it. Okay, and I'm going to just drag this over because I just need you to see kind of this hierarchy of files here so you can see what's in my Dropbox right now. All right, so that's the app. That's the mobile app that's installed on my iPad. Okay, so I want you to just kind of check out what's in there right now. I'm going to add this syllabus, and right now there's another syllabus in there called 1 syllabus, but this syllabus that we're talking about here is called 2 syllabus. Okay, so I'm going to add 2 syllabus to my Dropbox from my laptop. First of all, I want to show you how easy it is. I'm going to go up to File, just like I'm going to save it to my computer. And I'm just going to go to File, Save As. Now look at how easy this is. When you install Dropbox, it actually gets added in, and I know I'm on the Mac view, and some of you are probably thinking, I don't have a Mac, but it's actually a very similar workflow on a PC. It actually gets added added as a device right here on your system. So you just click on Dropbox, You decide where you want it to be installed in your Dropbox. I'm just going to add it at the first level hierarchy, and I'm going to click Save. And I want you to look up at the top here of my screen. That's my Dropbox icon. And so there's a little spinning arrow that's going around a circle. It looks like a little recycle icon, and it says it's uploading one file. And that's going to take a little bit of time because I'm using a lot of bandwidth right now. Okay, there we go. And it has a green check now. So it says it is up to date. Okay, so I'm going to go over to my iPad, and I'm just going to do a refresh. See there? Okay, now it's going to make a liar of me. I'm going to go back out and open it again. There it is. And so now it's available on my iPad. So now if I pull my iPad over, I just want to show you some of these features. So I can click on it from my iPad, and it will load there. And so you see now I have access to it from my iPad, and this would be the same on my iPhone if I was wanted to access it from there. And up in the upper right corner, of the iPad screen, to the right of the title, you'll see a few different icons there. Let me move that over just a little bit. You'll see a few different icons here. And the first one is, if I click on it, you'll see that that's where I have my share options. So I can email it. Those are the social shares, or I could copy it to my clipboard. So if I, for example, had someone who needed access to this file from my iPad, I could just access it right there and share it with someone. This star is a great feature to know about also. Just by clicking on it, it adds it as a favorite in my Dropbox. And you'll see over here now it's become a favorite. By making something a favorite, it makes it accessible to me on my Dropbox when I don't have an internet connection. And that's a really good thing to know about because, especially with tablets, they don't always have connections, right? If you have a tablet with Wi-Fi, you might think, oh, well, that's useless to me because I don't always have a Wi-Fi connection. Well, if you make things a favorite, then you will be able to connect to it when you don't actually have a connection. And then this option here, just click on that, and it'll allow you, if you have a tool that allows you to print, you can select that option. Or if you click on Open In, it'll access any third-party apps on your device that actually open that file that are compatible with the file. But that's something you need to think about because, not all documents that you load on a mobile are going to be able to be opened. So you need to kind of be thinking about that workflow. So are you putting a file in your Dropbox that you can actually open on your mobile? That's something that you need to actually kind of think through a little bit and do some experimenting with. So that's how the iPad tool works. And let's see, I'm going to check out some comments here. Robin says it works great on a PC too. I have it on PC, iPad, and Mac. And Robin says the iPad version seems to have more share options than PC. Okay, that's good. I can't speak to that because I only have an iPad. I'm going to actually disable my iPad now and thanks for sharing that, Robin. Go back here really quickly, and I just have a couple more things that I want to share you. So now I'm back on my laptop view, and I wanted to go back up here to the top, that little icon, which is where I access Dropbox. I'm going to click on it. And you'll see here, this is where I could access my Dropbox folder on my computer, or I could go out to Dropboxcom. Now, I want to show you that because I think that's something that's really important to know about. We've talked a lot about the device side of it, but let me pull this window over here so you can see it. Okay. So this, what we're looking at now, is my Dropbox on Dropboxcom. So what this means is, let's say I'm traveling somewhere. Let's say I'm going to a conference, and let's say, the worst thing possible has happened. Well, I need to clarify, it wouldn't be the worst thing possible, but it would be a bad thing. Let's say I lost my iPad. Let's say I forgot my laptop. Let's say I forgot my I don't know, my battery ran out, just something at the last minute, and I'm walking into a conference presentation, right? Just kind of one of those really bad case scenarios. You've got a room full of people, and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do by presentation? And you're panicking. Well, let's say you remembered to upload that presentation to Dropbox before you left home. If you have a computer in the room, if you can get access to a computer with that presentation on it, you can get access to your presentation. All you need to do is go to Dropboxcom, log into your account, and you'll have it. And this is what you would find. So that's something to keep in mind, and something that I really like to do. I'm a Keynote user myself. Keynote is a Mac product, and I know that everywhere I go doesn't always have Keynote. So what I do is I typically always export my Keynotes to PDFs and put them in Dropbox, because I know that anywhere I go, I can open a PDF really easily, and then my presentation is just going to be nice and easy to see in case of emergency. It's just there. So that's my backup plan. That's what I do. So it's just something to think about. And if you take a look at my Dropbox, you'll see this one folder called AS Faculty Workshop, and you'll see that there's little people on it. That means it's a shared folder, and it also says shared folder here. If I wanted to, for example, turn this one into a shared folder, the one called Art History Group Project, all I would have to do is right-click, or if you're on a Mac, if you don't have a right-click, you want to control-click, and go to Invite Folder. If you do that, if you do a right-click, you'll also see all of these other options pop up for any file here. So, for example, if I want to go down to this Getting Started PDF and do a right-click on it, I could share it, I could download it, delete it, rename, move, copy. You can also see previous versions. So I'm going to show you that in 1 second. But right now I'm going to get the share link. It gives me the option to enter emails and also some social options, or you can just click on Get a Link. Once you click on Get a Link, it's been copied to the clipboard. And I'm going to go over to the chat box and just paste it in there for you so you can click on that link and see what it looks like. Yeah, and Samantha has shared ways to get more space. And I'll also share with you that if you share a folder with people who don't have a Dropbox account yet, and they accept, and they have to set up a Dropbox account to actually accept that shared folder, you actually get 500 megabytes of extra space. So that's something to know about. So that's how you get a link and how you can share it, and now you can have the experience of clicking on that link and kind of see what it looks like. I think that's a good user experience as well. And then I was going to go up to this one up here, the one called One Syllabus Online, and just do a right-click and show you how you can access previous versions, because I don't think a lot of people know about that feature of Dropbox. Whoops, there it is. I only have 2 versions in here, but it does actually allow you to restore previous versions as well, and that's kind of nice. So what's the difference between Dropbox and Google Drive? They're both cloud-based storage options. Google Drive, I think, is it offers different ways to share your documents and turn your documents into collaborative documents that Dropbox doesn't have. So, for example, I could take a document on Google Drive and turn it into like a wiki type space where anyone can add and edit to. There are a lot of similarities, I completely agree, between Dropbox and Google Drive. And there's also, different types of features in Google Drive where you can actually create docs as well. So, but there are a lot of parallels. If anyone else wants to jump in there and just kind of comment on that, I'm happy to have you. Okay, well, that was the last feature I was going to point out about Dropbox. I hope that you see some ways that you can use that to make your life a little bit more functional and effective.